Hi everyone, I'm Hayley. I'm always in the craft room and I'm here today with my July sewing plans. We've got lots to get through, so let's just get started with a pattern I have already cut out. This is a Jali pattern for a men's polo shirt, but I am making a lady's tennis dress. So I have already cut out the fabric. It is this green cotton lycra jersey. It's a really lovely quality fabric from a shop that has now unfortunately closed. And I bought this pattern, Jali 3137, over 10 years ago, intending to make my husband a t-shirt. Have a guess in the comments below whether I ever did that. Yeah, I did not. But this spring, when I was making my Springs Plan video, I said I wanted a tennis dress, and this pattern came to mind because it's basically exactly what I want. I just want it longer. And yes, this is drafted for men, but clothes are clothes. Anyone can wear what they want. I understand that because of that, it has no bust shaping. But then I was thinking about it, and I actually did get a couple of my knit dress patterns out to compare it to. None of the patterns I've ever sewn for knits have a bust dart. I'm only like a big B small C cup. I've never even had one where it has that shaping in the bust dart, in the bust, where you like sew a row of gathering stitches and pull them just to release a bit more fabric. Literally all of my knit tops and dresses are just cut straight. So I decided to chance it. It's a throw on and go casual summer dress. So I have just cut the size for a 36-inch chest, which I'm about 35 and a half. So fingers crossed that works. And all I've done after that is I measured from the point of the underarm to the hemline on a knit dress that I like, and I measured the width of the hemline on that dress that I like, and then I just drew it in with chalk on the fabric and cut. So it's a little bit of an experiment. It might not work, or it might be perfect. We shall see. Anyway, the reason I didn't get round to this in spring is that I had the pattern, I had the fabric, but what I didn't have was thread to match. So often a stumbling block for me, but don't worry, because I did have a husband who was passing Hobbycraft and a Gutermann thread chart. So I bought this years ago at McCulloch and Wallace in Soho, and at the time I remember thinking, this is very expensive for what it does. It's not expensive for what it is, because I can see how this is extremely expensive to manufacture. I think it was between 18 and 20 quid. But all it actually does is allow me to buy thread in the correct shade. So I'm spending 20 quid and I'm not actually getting any thread. I'm just getting the ability to get thread. So I was a bit like, should I get it? Should I not? And then I reframed it in my mind, not as spending 20 quid on the ability to buy matching thread, but as spending 20 quid on marital harmony. And that's worth a lot more, isn't it? Because I often send my husband to Hobbycraft. Now, we all know what an absolute treasure he is from my dyeing the dress video. And he always does his best, but he just always happens to be passing Hobbycraft. I think because, and I don't know if it's the same way you are, but Hobbycraft just always seems to be on like a retail park or industrial estate near his two favourite shops, Screwfix and Tool Station. So whenever he tells me he's going, I'm like, oh, please could you nip in and buy me? And the thing with sending him to buy threads, and I honestly, he's such a great guy, and like how lovely of him, because the thread is upstairs as well at Hobbycraft, isn't it? To nip in and get it for me. But whenever I've sent him with a scrap of fabric to get thread, either I get a million questions by text message, or he does his best. And you can't ask for anyone to do any more than their best. All I will say on that subject is, to him, turquoise is turquoise. To me, sometimes it's teal, sometimes it's aqua, you know? So the Gutermann thread chart to the rescue, and all I do is take a photo of the numbers that I want. In fact, I'll insert the photo on the screen so that you can see. I always give him a number of options in case anything's out of stock, and then he gets exactly what I want with no back and forth questioning. And I mean, how good is that thread match? Could not have done better myself in person. So you might notice I've got 2 reels of thread, and I will tell you why. 100 meters is a lot, isn't it? When you think of what you're sewing up with a dress, I mean, if you're really tall, you'd struggle to use 4 meters, even with a bobbin and a top thread on each side seam. So I don't know why, but it's rare I can get a project out of 100 meters of thread. Anybody else? And you always run out when it's time to hem or do the binding in the most obvious places. Now, if the thread on your internal side seam wasn't that closely matched, as long as the tension on your machine is spot on, you probably wouldn't even be able to see it, would you? But the bit where I've run out of thread is always front and centre top stitching. And this being a knit, I knew I would use the cover stitch machine to hem it. And if you've heard me talk about my cover stitch machine before, it's a Janome. And look, it's an entry-level cover stitch. It was fairly inexpensive for what it does, but it is finicky. I can't deny. And I saw a tip years ago that said if you haven't got a matching thread for your cover stitch, wind some thread onto a bobbin and use those. Now, I've tried that many a time, and unfortunately, it does sometimes work. And I say unfortunately because if it never worked, I would never do it. But instead, like 1 in 3 times it works perfectly, 2 out of 3 times it just leads to me swearing and remembering this doesn't work. Why do I keep doing it? So I was umming and ahhing over whether to ask him to get a 100 metre reel of thread or a 200 metre reel of thread, because I normally buy a 200 for a project. And then it hit me, what if I buy 2 100 metre reels and then I can use them on the cover stitch machine? Because really only the 2 needles need to match. The looper can be close but not quite. So I'll let you know if they work, but I thought that was inspired. So what I'm going to do is wind a bobbin from one, use the other one on my sewing machine so that I wear them down evenly, and then use them to cover stitch at the end. So I'm actually really excited to get going with this. I've been having a look at some ready to wear inspiration because I was wondering if I should change the collar. If you look at the marketing photos for this, they're dated because it is like a 15-year-old pattern. But when I've looked at ready to wear inspiration, I almost think this pattern's so old that it's all come round again. And the collars do seem to be pretty big on ready to wear. So yeah, I may sew it, flip it, try it, see what I think. But other than that, we are at last all ready to go with that project. I just lost one of my threads. Next up, we have this gorgeous linen from the Cotton Mouth in Clitheroe in Lancashire. And let's have a chat. When I started this channel, I promised myself I would never make anything just for content. I'm sure we've all seen it where a vlogger makes something because they've been given a free pattern or some free fabric, and you're kind of looking at it going, I don't think you would have chosen either of those. I don't think you would have made that just off your own bat. Now, look, we don't need to worry about that because I've never been offered anything for free. But I now have the opposite problem. I would like to make from this fabric another pair of those Vogue trousers. And I found myself going, Hayley, that's so boring. Nobody will want to watch that. And then I had a word with myself, because if we're definitely not making stuff just for content, then we're also not making stuff for content. So that's what I'm going to do. However, I am planning a few design changes, not for the content, but because I'm me and I can't keep anything simple. So The eagle-eyed among you will notice I am actually wearing beige linen trousers, but they are actually, if I stand up, they're quite a different colour, aren't they? This is more of a like stony, I would say it's a brown thread and a white thread. So from a distance, they give the appearance of beige, but it is actually quite different from like the oatmeal colour of this pair. And this pair are flat all the way around with a little patch pockets with an invisible side seam zip. This pair is going to be elastic waisted like my other 3 pairs of the same pattern. However, what I would like to do is make the front completely flat and only put the elastic at the back and omit the drawstring. In my head, that's really simple to do. We'll see when we get there, because there isn't actually a lot of gathering because my waist is not that much smaller than my hips. So I think if I shave a bit off the front piece, it will all be fine. But the main reason that I want the front to be flat is that I would like to add front patch pockets. I have an idea in my mind of how I want them to look. I'm going to have to do some more ready to wear research and kind of have a play with cutting out a pattern piece. I think what I'm going to do is get the trousers legs cut out, see what remnants I have, and then play with pinning a few different things on and seeing how it looks. But I quite fancy a shaped one. I'll see if I can find an inspiration picture to insert, because I just think that would be fun and a bit different, and hopefully make my 4th pair of trousers not look like the other 3, which in fairness, they do all look quite different because there's quite a few options with this pattern. So my navy ones have cargo pockets and are cropped. That was an accident. My black ones are just really super plain, and my navy and gold ones are plain, but because they're navy and gold, oh, it's this fabric actually, they're not plain at all. So yeah, that's also on the list. I haven't been making the list, have I? I always do this. I got my pen, I got my clipboard. Oh well, we'll use the pile of fabric as a list, shall we? It's not much because this is only for 1 month, and you can tell I'm already being overexcited, aren't I? Next up is another pattern repeat. You won't be surprised. This fabric is a navy lyocell tencel that I got years ago from Rainbow Fabrics, and it was a remnant. Now, I wouldn't call this a remnant, it's 4 meters. I'd call this a pre-cut. But anyway, 4 meters of this gorgeous fabric, and I bought it to make a Repurposing de Chiffon Dominique jumpsuit. I have literally just finished a blouse from this pattern, and I've also made another blouse from this pattern and 2 jumpsuits. And I was thinking about this fabric and I was like, I don't need a 3rd identical jumpsuit, because the second one I made was in a denim peak and it is almost navy. It kind of reads grey from a distance, but it is navy, so it fills that gap in my wardrobe. But you know what I would love? Is a dress of that pattern. So the same collar, the pocket flaps, the top stitching, and then I could either leave the release pleats in at the waist, or I do have an altered pattern where I rotated the bust dart to the side. And then I haven't decided between a pleated or a gathered skirt, but I think that would be absolutely stunning in this fabric. So simple and understated, and yeah, more use to me actually than another jumpsuit, because I absolutely love those jumpsuits. I really do. I get so much wear from them, but we're having a bit of a heat wave here in the UK at the moment. I hope you can't hear my fan. I'm very hot. And they're too warm to wear in summer weather. They're great for spring and autumn, but in the really warm weather, that sleeveless bodice with a floaty skirt with side slits, or yeah, it's going to have buttons down the front. Oh, I think that will be absolutely fantastic. At the end of last summer, I said to myself, I need to stop making summer dresses. And that was because I had a couple that I put away at the end of the season that I hadn't even worn once. So my logic was I didn't even wear them this year, so I've got too many dresses. But I didn't really apply my critical thinking brain to that, because actually the reason I hadn't worn them was that last summer in my part of the world was not warm at all. We had 2 really warm or hot weeks, and the rest of the summer was like cloudy and 18 degrees. So yeah, it makes sense that actually I didn't wear my summer clothes that much. This year it has been absolutely beautiful for months. We literally had an 8-week period of blue skies and sunny, warm weather. And it quickly made me realise, no, I don't have enough dresses. I will say the sundresses, yes, I have sufficient. But what I don't have is any slightly smarter dresses. I've got occasion wear, I've got casual wear. I've not got going into the office on a hot day, or going to the dentist, or for a doctor's appointment, or going in to help at school. I haven't got those kind of dresses where a sundress just feels a bit exposed and casual. And also, so many places are air conditioned that actually I want something that is cool and comfortable to walk around in outside, but also when you're indoors with air conditioning will be all right. And that's what I bought this fabric for. I showed it to you a couple of weeks ago. It was from Leon's in South Manchester, and I love it, but also I think I've made a mistake. So the pattern I have in mind is one I've made before. It is, I'm just looking at my iPad down here, it's Lisette 2246 for simplicity. And it's a lovely, very simple shirt dress. And I made this once before in a floral blue cotton, and I got so much wear from it. For so many occasions, it was just the perfect dress. I didn't feel fancy, but I didn't feel casual. And the only reason I retired that dress was because I unfortunately got a stain on it. So that shows you just how much I wore it. So I would like to recreate that. And I thought this fabric would be perfect for a shirt dress. It's got a tiny bit of stretch, which will make it even more comfortable. But can someone please tell me when I'm going to learn that cotton is narrow? Because I've been sewing for 15 years now? And still, I never buy enough cotton. I just thought, a shirt dress, I'll easily get that out of 1.5 metres. But now I look at this, I'm not sure I will. So what I had been planning was a knee-length shirt dress with 3/4 sleeves. I may only be able to get short sleeves out of it, which it's not a big deal. It's not what I was going for, but it will be fine. I may be able to get some more of this actually. They had quite a big roll, and it wasn't long ago that I bought it. So what I should probably do is get on with the cutting out and see how we go, because this is such a lovely, cool, summery fabric. I think that will just be ideal, and it will really fill a hole in my wardrobe. When I thought of making a dress, mainly for work, to be honest, my mind immediately went to this simplicity pattern, and I went to the stash to see if I had anything suitable. Now, who would have thought that I could have 72 cuts of fabric in stock, 72, and not one of them was suitable, except this one. And it wasn't really suitable. So let me explain. It would have been, but then I had a better idea. So this is actually also from Rainbow Fabrics. It is a viscose, possibly polyester, possibly mixed crepe. And it's this black background with a regular polka dots. And the thing that's making me think it's polyester is that it's weirdly stretchy, but not the way you'd expect. So it stretches in line with the selvage, not on the cross grain at all. There's no give whatsoever on the cross grain. So honestly, it confused me when it arrived, and I just kind of ignored it for a few years. But when I saw this Lisette pattern, I suddenly just knew what I wanted this to be. And it is the puff sleeve version. So the short sleeves on this have a big puff and then a little cuff. I don't know why the cuff is so important to me in this fabric, but it is. And I may do the cuff in plain black, haven't decided. I just immediately had a vision of this fabric as a long shirt dress with puff sleeves. So I'm going to lengthen the pieces. I don't think I want to do tiers and ruffles. I've kind of had enough of that these last few years. I think I'm just going to lengthen each piece. And I could just see it. Do you ever do that where you've had a fabric for years and then you suddenly get a vision and you know that's what it has to be? The reason I'm saying this isn't suitable for work is just that particular design I just think would be not right for my office. Polka dots, puff sleeves, full length. It would work in some work environments, but I just think not mine. So the purple one's for work. This one is more for smart casual. And yeah, I'm very excited about that one too, because I just love it when I finally think of a plan for a fabric that has languished in my stash for a long time. And the last project I would like to make is a continuation of a project I started last year. So you may recognise this little shopping bag that I crocheted recently, and I would like to make another one in raffia. So last year I started making a raffia handbag, and I bought a load of this Raffaella yarn, 100% raffia from Hobby, and I looked for a pattern that I liked, and I could find patterns where I liked the sides of the bag, and I could find patterns where I liked the base of the bag. I couldn't find one that had all the elements. The one where I particularly liked the design of the sides recommends a wooden base. Now, I am lucky that my husband would sort one out for me. I'm sure he could cut a piece of thin wood and drill holes in it so I could crochet through it. But when I thought about it, I'm going for a shoulder bag, and I don't want a piece of wood like here because I'm quite clumsy, and I know I will like bash against the car with it, and oh, that sounds ouchy. And also I thought it would become quite heavy as well. So last summer what I did was decide to freestyle a base for that bag in crochet, and I got going on it, and I did get quite a long way, and I had to stop because this this paper is very hard on your hands. So when I was freestyling this base, I was literally making it up as I went along, and that involves a little bit of pulling it out to do a few stitches again, and it also involves like really getting in the zone and getting into a rhythm and doing around and going, yeah, that worked, we'll do it again. Oh, this time I need a few more increases or fewer increases. And once I got into the rhythm of it, I wanted to keep going. And a couple of times, because it was so hard on my hands, I stopped and tried to write down the methodology of what I was doing. And then I'd come back to it a few days later and it just didn't make sense to me anymore. So I can freestyle crochet projects and I can work with raffia yarn, but I can't do those two things in the same project. But once I had finished this bag, I thought it would be awesome in raffia. And the advantage is it's a really simple pattern that I know now. It's fresh in my mind. So I can do one round, put it down, and then the next day do one more round. And that way it's not hurting my hands, because the issue with it is that as it runs over my non-crocheting hand where I tension the yarn, after 50 stitches, it just feels like sandpaper's going through my fingers. But the first 50 are absolutely fine. So I've been doing a round a day, and there's only like 35 rounds in the whole thing, so it'll be done in a month, even if I only do one per day. And I think it shows off the stitch pattern so nicely. And I just want this as a real throw and go bag, a bit like this, primarily for the school run, when I just want to take with me phone, car keys, maybe a water bottle. I think it will be lovely. And I'm so glad that I've worked out a way to use this yarn. So that's everything I hope to make in July. Do tell me which one you're most excited about in the comments below. and I hope to see you again soon. Bye.